is your church diversified? They're not asking for racial diversity or ethnicity diversity, but they're asking, do you allow people to think differently? Not one size fits all, uniformity, but do you allow people to approach with the different innovative ideas and the ways to solve the problem? But if your church is all about 1 + 1 = 2, they are saying, that's not church, I want to be part of it. And also, the church, don't tell me all the charts and numbers and figures, but tell me how Jesus made a difference in your life, and tell me how Jesus made a difference in our community through your church. You being faithful, expression of a kingdom of God. If you don't have a story to tell, people are saying all that numbers and figures and the charts, meaningless. And are you also salt and the light of our community? You know, we say we as a Christian would like to be a salt and the light of the world. Yeah, sounds great. But are you making a difference in our own community? Are you, weeping with us? Are you rejoicing with us? And is this ministry, your church, exciting, group of believers, joyful believers? Sometimes you come to church, people say, Happy Sabbath, with that grumpy look, sorrowful, depressing look, Happy Sabbath. I mean, I hear you, but I don't feel you, So if we are not happy about being a Christian, following our Lord Jesus Christ, how can we become contagious, in our communities? And what legacy you trying to leave in this community? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how this community will be different than today because of your faithful, engagement. And also they are saying, don't teach us all these rules and regulations and do's and don'ts, and it's suffocating our lives. Teach us biblical values. Like I said, why we don't spend money on Sabbath? We need to teach our kids, our children, restorative justice, jubilee. But we focus on do's and don'ts. And also, what is your mission in our community? Who are you serving? And what is that societal challenge you're trying to deal with? And how are you going to deal with it? If people do not hear and see, and all you care about is growing your church membership, and they are saying, no, you are not being church. You are doing church stuff. So we really have to change our focus from, doing a program inside the four walls to being church in our community. So this is why I teach leadership in social innovation, and part of our curriculum, I teach collective impact model, which is talking about, first, we have to develop common agenda with people in our community. And we need to learn how to share the measure system. Not only we measure our success quantitatively, but also measuring our success qualitatively, which I'm going to talk about this in about 10 minutes. And then we need to focus on specific ministry in no more than 3, mutually enforcing activity, not just shotgun deal, events after events after events. Some of us have become Seventh-day Eventist. We love to have events, and one event is not connected to next event. We just do a whole lot of events. So stop being eventist. Amen? All right, repeat after me. Stop being eventist. We are no more eventist. And then we need to communicate our journey through transparency. All the success and the failure, the challenges and opportunity, we need to communicate internally and externally. And then backbone organization. working intentionally, sustainably, and also empowering people. So watch this video, which is about 1 minute, and it will give you an overview of what collective impact is all about.
The number and complexity of challenges facing our world can be overwhelming. When individual organizations attempt to tackle the most daunting problems, success stories are all too rare. Many innovative approaches have been tried, too few have worked. However, when organizations work together under the right conditions, they can accomplish great things. One particularly...
Okay, sound, ready? Okay.
The number and complexity of challenges facing our world can be overwhelming. When individual organizations attempt to tackle the most daunting problems, success stories are all too rare. Many innovative approaches have been tried, too few have worked. However, when organizations work together under the right conditions, they can accomplish great things. One particularly effective means of collaboration is collective impact. Using the collective impact approach, a number of complex social challenges have been addressed and some remarkable results have been achieved. Youth incarcerations dropped by 45% in just 3 years, with no change in public safety, improving the lives of thousands of youths. 6,000 public housing residents were placed in new jobs during the recession. More than 1,000 acres were restored and over 280 million pounds of pollution voluntarily reduced to conserve and restore a river. Organizations utilizing a collective impact approach do the following: agree to a common goal, agree to track progress in the same way, which allows for continuous improvement, do what each does best while identifying new ways to work together, have consistent communication, and finally, have skilled and dedicated resources to support ongoing efforts. The world's toughest challenges aren't going away. In fact, many experts predict they will continue to grow in both number and complexity. Solving these problems requires a range of expertise from a number of diverse organizations. Collective impact is a proven approach, helping organizations work together to move mountains.
If you have interested in this, I want you to write it down, collectiveimpactforum.org, and then you can actually revisit and study more in details of those 5 components and how we can apply that into our ministry. So again, common agenda is creating shared vision with the community. So instead of we being church to community, which is a very traditional model, we are becoming church with the community. So we will begin to work with the community people to create that shared vision. And then we will learn how to collect the data, measuring our impact through theory of a change, the logic model. So we can actually hold accountable to each other. I tell people one of the reasons why the in-gathering is not working well, because we don't understand the importance of accountability. Like I go to your company and I ask for donation, and then until a year later, I don't revisit you. We don't have any relationship. When was the last time you went back to the donors and saying, thank you for your contribution. We made a difference in our community in A, B, C, programs. We don't do that. You see, there is no reporting. There is no accountability. That's why the in-gathering is not working. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. And then third, reinforced activities, as I said, it has to be coordinated. We're not the only in a church in the town that has a concern for our community. There are other denominations, other NGOs, or public sector, you name it. So we need to learn how to work together collectively, is that right? To create a project that we can all share. Oh my goodness, I have a cockroach below me. It looks like my hand. Just kidding. Huge. Okay. Thou shalt not kill, so I'm not going to step on it. And continuous communication, we need to consistently build relationship with the people by listening and sharing and growing together. And the backbone again, we need to work with all these multiple entities, how to share resources and manpower. So at the end of the day, it's not about how many baptism. It's not about how many baptism we get, but we need to ask, how is our dependability? Are we doing what we say we will do? How is our timeliness? Are we doing things when we say we will do them? How is our empathy? What are we doing things with an eye to the needs of the community? How is our tangible evidence? Are we doing things in ways that let communities know service has been performed? It's okay. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we cannot just measure our success based on tithe and offering and how many people we have baptized, but we're willing to revisit, how is our ministry doing? When was last time you went out to your community people and asking people, how is our ministry doing? I usually stay in Hampton Inn when I travel, and as soon as I check out from the hotel, people send me the survey. How was your breakfast? How was your internet? How was the bed? They want to know how to improve their quality of service. So we as a church, no different. We need to go visit our community at least once in quarter and talking to the public sector, private sector, nonprofit, and our community people. How is our ministry doing? And people say, I don't know what you do. Then, we need to seriously revisit, how we do in our ministry. And if people don't know what you are doing, they don't know, what you have to offer, then we are no different than a bar that we're passing by every day. I hope you don't know what's going on inside the building. So we have to identify community priorities. It's not what we want to do, but what is in need of community. What is a community concerned of? And then we need to learn how to track community assets. So do not focus on problems in the community, but focus on opportunities, resources that God has placed in your community. Sometimes we just like to focus on the needs and trying to fix the problem, but we need to take a higher road, all right? Because this is about community development. So we need to learn how to leverage our community assets with our assets, church and individual. Then conduct research, evidence-based data, research-based data that will demonstrate our credibility. How do you know whether you're doing good or bad if you don't research your performance, right? So evaluating your ministry is a critical element for us to continually grow and enhance, and then generate new knowledge that is then used to reset priority, because our society is continually evolving. Jamaica today is different than Jamaica 5 years ago and 10 years ago, right? We keep evolving, so we have to learn how to adapt to this changing environment. So first, make sure you involve your diverse community members in key decision-making process. So let's say you want to do youth at risk ministry, focusing on family issue. Well, you need to involve people in the community, like a policeman and the people who are going through that youth at risk challenge, dealing with the crime. You need to dealing with the people in the community that focusing on healthier family. Does that make sense to you? So you need to intentionally involve community leaders as part of your decision-making process. I know some of you are probably concerning about, well, they're not Adventist. They have different values, and they are sinners. Hello, wake up. We need to be real. How can you, focusing on community development without community people being involved? It doesn't make any sense. It's just nonsense. So we need to intentionally invite people from public, private, and nonprofit to work with us. And through that engagement, we will begin to develop mutual respect, trust between the church and the community. Because people have to know you are serious. People have to know you are really, committing to this, community transformation. Or is this one of your event, And then you need to address the most, priority of your community. Again, not what you prefer to do, but what community is in need of. Friend of mine was doing Lamaze class. It's like delivering the baby, preparing the young couples, learn how to breathe and all that kind of stuff. And she was a nurse, RN, registered nurse, and she ended up with a lot of good relationship with the young couples, even baptizing several people. It was exciting. And she was relocated to another community, and she shared with the church members, the Lamaze class that she conducted, and baptized a lot of people. So church members, without thinking twice, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. We want to do that here. So they decided to have a Lamaze class. But the problem was, this church was located in the middle of 55 plus retirement community. They are not producing babies anymore. And what's the point of having a Lamaze class in the retirement community? Hello? You see the problem. We just like to do things that we are comfortable with. Yeah. You have a question, ma'am? Oh, okay. So we need to focus on community priority and then maximizing participation of and leadership by people living in the community. Most of us, unfortunately, we don't live in the church community. We in America, we are commuters. Yeah. How many of you live near the church, like 5 minutes away? Okay, very good. 10 minutes away. 15 minutes? Okay, that's good. Yeah, most of the American churches, 30, 40 minutes away. People don't live in the community. So we have no idea what's going on in that community. So we need to learn how to provide incarnational ministry. Jesus moved into our community. Hello? So we need to be part of our community, everyday life, interacting with the people at the grocery store, bank, at the school, you name it. And then join, learning, discovering together from each other and value research for improving, sustaining community development. So this is the reason why I challenge our pastors. The pastors must be part of their civic organization in their community. They need to join Rotary Club, Lions, Chamber of Commerce. They need to volunteer as a police chaplain. They need to volunteer at the hospital chaplain. But some pastors are saying, oh, that sounds great, but I have like 4 or 5 churches to minister, and I don't have time to volunteer for the community, engagement, and I have a whole lot of crying babies in the church, and I have to take care, and hello? This is nonsense. Stop crying. You're wasting your pastor's time. Pastor needs to be a spiritual leader of your community, not just, babysitting you. You all need to grow up and be responsible for your own duty and responsibility as a change agent of your own community. Pastor is there to support you. Hello? But somehow, we want everything done by pastor. We became pastor-driven church, and that is not effective. and creating a learning opportunities by involving students, which I will talk about that in service learning. So again, look at community as not the problem, but resource. So you have to talk to the people in the community and find out what are the resources that we have, how we can actually connect the dots and maximize the potential. That's what we call leveraging our resource. If you look at your church has very limited manpower and resources. But when you look at your community, hello, there are a lot more resources and opportunity in there. I know some of you are saying, well, we cannot, use those sinful money. That's worldly money. When was the last time you saw your money, it says sinful? My money says 5, 10, 20. Hello? So stop using that kind of nonsense excuse, not working with the community people. A friend of mine was doing the homeless ministry in California. And in the middle of nowhere, he contacted me and said, our church board decide not to continue our, homeless ministry. So I said, what was the rationale, behind that? Well, church members thought that we did this every other Sabbath, going out and giving out food and clothing, but we didn't have any quality baptism. So no baptism, not successful, we're not going to do it. That was the decision. Good thing he was calling me over the phone. I would have just smacked his head. The Holy Bible, That's the problem. We go out and give food and clothing. We need to have a baptism. This is wrong mentality. We don't baptize, homeless people. If you do, praise the Lord, that's great. But we need to focus on people who are living in self-actualization. These are the people that want to contribute. They want to make a difference. They want to pay forward. So you need to connect those individuals with your ministry. Hello? And you build relationship with these stakeholders, contributors, and then you baptize them. Sometimes we look for easy target. Hello? Yeah. We need to focus on people in our community, how to connect the resources and the manpower together, create a bigger impact. So you need to divide your church members. Some of the church members must connect with the business sector, some government, some education, health, and so forth. So you can actually work with the community, developing that relationship. By the way, all this is based on my book, Burst the Bubble. So if this is overwhelming you or you want to study more about it, you can actually download it from Pacific Press or Amazon. So Burst the Bubble, just to give you a little bit of advertisement. All right, so we're going to go to theory of a change, the logic model. We are not being, eventist anymore, right? So through the logic model, we need to define who will be served, your focus group, and what should be accomplished and how it will be done. So when people see your next 5 years long-term community engagement plan, they will know exactly who you are trying to serve. Is that a youth at risk? Is that a family? Is that unemployment? Is that a substance abuse? Whatever that is, who will be your focus group and what challenge that you're trying to accomplish and how it will be done so that people can know exactly, where you're going with this thing. Does that make sense to you? So in this measure, you will measure efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is numbers. Effectiveness is the qualitative, life-changing story. So efficiency is all about numbers, and Effectiveness is a qualitative. So when you measure both efficiency and effectiveness, then you can say we can measure our impact. So you cannot just say we believe in making an impact in our community without demonstrating how you are efficient and effective. Again, I'm going to flip the coin here. Qualitative is like this, and it's all about the life-changing story, measuring your effectiveness of your ministry. And quantitative is all about numbers, and it's measuring efficiency of the ministry. So you need to learn how to do that both in order to build your credibility. Because at the end of the day, yes, you have to have numbers, but you need to have stories. See, we want to deliver 10,000 meals to homeless people. That's output. That's quantitative success. That is numbers. But you want to measure your impact. At the end, 5 years from now, we will reduce our hunger by 5%. You getting it? So community outreach ministry is not always about how many goods and services that you provide, how many people that you fed. No, you also need to say, okay, because of our effort, next 5 years, we will increase, opportunity for youth at risk going to college, 25%. We will, reduce the 5% of a high school dropout. Something that can be, more life-changing. That's what this is about. So community engagement cannot be just departmental function. We as a church, we need to come together, all ministries together with our community people to engage. So here again, first three, input, activities, and output. This is measuring quantitative. This is numbers. It's all about measuring efficiency. And outcome and impact is qualitative. It's measuring stories of individual life and the community and measuring effectiveness. So those are the 5 components, okay? So let's say we're going to deal with the input first. Input is what are the things that we need to do ministry, the resources, tangible and intangible. Tangible resources are building, facility, people, volunteers, all that. Intangible is what we call social capital, your community capital, your network, So friends who are lawyers, you have friends who are doctors, so they can help you with the medical, health message and so forth. So those are both tangible and intangible. Now, activities are different. Activities are not the same as an event. We are so used to doing so many different events, but we need to stop doing events and engage in activities. So let's say, if I want to focus on a healthy family, because our families are falling apart, high divorce rate, substance abuse, domestic violence, youth at risk, all the gang activity. Okay, so if that is our focus, we're going to come together as a community and the church leaders, and then we will say, first, what are the educational tools that we need to develop? Do we need a flip chart? Do we need the video? Do we need a testimony? What do we need to educate people how to make a difference? That's what we call product. And service is when and where this service, this program will be offered. Is that at the church, or is that the civic center? Is that a business, conference hall? When and where this ministry will be offered. So ministry cannot be done just inside the 4 walls. We have to take our program into community, okay? And then infrastructure. Infrastructure means you need to develop partners in public sector, private sector, and NGO sector. So no more my church, my ministry, my program, none of that nonsense. We need to build partnership, people in our community come together and serving together. Is it okay? So this is a developing stage. We are coming together, talking about what products and service and infrastructure we can offer. Then 6 months later, 1 year later, you can actually demonstrate the result, direct results of that program activity. So you can say how many educational products that you have developed, PowerPoints, videos, and that. And how many times that you have delivered that service in the church, in a community, civic center. And then infrastructure, how many public sector, private sector, non-profit sector that the relationship you have developed. So that's what we call output. Easy, eh? It's not that hard. I know it's a Sabbath afternoon, your brain is only working about 20%, but still, it's not that complicated. We can do this, And then outcomes. Outcomes are different than output. I know some of us like to interchangeably use, output and outcome as the same word, but output is a quantitative measurement, measuring efficiency, and then output is a qualitative measurement, how we are making a difference in people's lives. KSA, knowledge, skill set, and attitude. So this is where we are beginning to collecting data. So let's say I'm doing family ministry, okay? All of you have come to my family ministry seminar, and as soon as you arrive, I will have a survey. The questions that dealing with the family and the skill set and the attitude. So I would ask you, do you know, what percentage of our marriage end up in divorcing in next 5 years? What percentage of our children end up in juvenile delinquency, dropping out of a high school, domestic violence, all kinds of family-related questions, and that knowledge base and skill set and attitude base. So I will collect the data in the beginning of my program. And then at the end of the program, 5 weeks or 5 months later, I will collect another data from you, same thing, knowledge, skill set, and attitude. So what am I doing? I can actually compare before and after. Before you attend my presentation, and then after you complete my presentation, I can see whether I have increased your knowledge, enhanced your skill set, and influence your attitude. So I can tell the differences. Is that right? But I'm not done yet. I will come after you months after months. I will keep coming, visiting you every month and collecting the data. Again, knowledge, skill set, and attitude. What am I doing? 2 things. Number 1, I am collecting evidence-based data, the research-based data that I need to demonstrate credibility of my program. I cannot just go to the funders or public sector and private sector and saying, I'm an Adventist, I go to church Saturday, I know my program works. They will say, good for you, go in peace. So I have to demonstrate that my program really making a difference. So how I'm going to show that without collecting data? Does that make sense? So this is why we need to learn how to evaluate our ministry. And at the same time, I'm collecting a data and doing what? I am building relationship with you. I'm getting to know you, getting to know your spouse, your children. I'm beginning to understand your financial crisis and your employment status. I'm part of your birthday celebration, attending your graduation. You see, I'm building a relationship with you over the year and hoping that one day I will have opportunity to share the good news of salvation. That is what we call outcome. So outcome ministry is focusing on life evangelism. The ministry is about life on life evangelism. That's what Jesus has taught us, how to build a relationship with the people. But instead of we focusing on life evangelism, we decide to focus on public evangelism. institutionalized our individual engagement. So that has been a very problematic. And then last but least is impact. What happened to our community? Because we have done this marriage encounterment, marriage enrichment program, youth at risk program, a domestic violence program, substance abuse program. So how we made a difference in our community? Is our community healthier community to live? Less violence, less substance abuse, happier family, less divorce. Does that make sense? So when we begin to demonstrate that, then people will begin to say, oh wow, Seventh-day Adventist Church, you have a problem with family issues? You go to Seventh-day Adventist Church. So we will become known for family ministry collectively. What are we